Hey, it's Jason with Threefold Solutions again. Today we're talking about Planning Center Calendar, and this is one of those videos that you can utilize for starting off in Calendar if you're looking to kind of make that blank calendar pop with some new events. I'm going to show you how to import an ICS file or an iCal file into Planning Center Calendar so you can actually take the information from an existing calendar and push it or synchronize it and import it into Planning Center calendar. So in this video, you will walk through the ICS file import scenario, but I'm also going to show you how to actually create an ICS file. Now, this is kind of Mac centric. I'm on a Mac, and so I'm using Calendar to do that, but it will work with other calendar options. I just want to give you the premise that when you're dealing with ICS files, what you're really dealing with is an iCal file format. And that means many times it's a feed and you begin with a feed. So that's part of this video. We'll talk about what that WebCal or iCal feed looks like, how you can actually export it. You can bring it into Calendar on the Mac, and then you can export an ICS file, which is what Planning Center Calendar actually needs when it comes to importing that information. So as always, we love making these videos. We love to help people with Planning Center. That's what we do at Threefold Solutions. And ultimately, we would love it if you would subscribe and make sure you get all of the videos that we create. And we do that on a regular basis. And give us a like while you're at it down there. I would appreciate that. Hope you enjoy this video. Leave us a comment if you have any questions on it. We're always happy to reply to those comments. Let's jump into the video now and check out how to import your information from an ICS file into Planning Center Calendar. Okay, we're in Calendar today and we're talking about some places to get started inside of Calendar. Now, if you're just jumping into Calendar, you may be looking at it as a big white blank slate, and you're wondering, how do I import or get some of the data that I have in my existing calendar over into Planning Center Calendar? Well, they actually have an option for that, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to go ahead and just click on something that I've pointed out many times in the past, but this little cog or this little wheel that you find at the top of the toolbar here, or the main calendar bar. Click on this little cog and you're going to find something called import events. Now, when you click on import events, you're going to be presented with an opportunity to import what they refer to as an iCal file. Now, if you're not familiar with WebCal or iCal, this is basically an ICS file type. Now, you may or may not have any recollection or understanding of what that is, but that is an open standard out on the web, and many other calendaring programs or software do offer either a WebCal type of feed that you can get out of your existing calendar, or they give you the option to just download an ICS file and save that to your computer. Now, in our example today, I'm going to use some holidays that are currently baked into an existing ICS file that I just downloaded off the internet. But if you have an Outlook calendar or a Google calendar or something along those lines, you may have the option easily to download an ICS file. Now, if you don't, and you just simply have what they call that WebCal feed, I am going to show you one way that you can import that into Calendar on the Mac, and then export an ICS file from that. So first things first, I'm going to start off with how you import an ICS file here, and then we'll move over and show you how to actually use the feed that you might be able to pull from one of your existing calendars and then turn that into an ICS file. So let's start off here with the ICS file. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on Select File from your computer. And I've got my usholidays.ics file here. So I'll select that and we're going to just import that. And it's going to say this is a one-time import. So please keep this in mind. This is a one-time import that will basically be something that if it doesn't quite go right or you select the wrong information, you will need to contact Planning Center support to kind of undo or unwind this import. So keep that in mind. If something goes wrong here, this is not what you wanted to import. You accidentally imported the wrong information. You may have to go over to the question mark here in the top right-hand right-hand corner and basically let Planning Center know that you're going to need some help unwinding this. So that's something that they will offer to do for you. Now, I'm going to go ahead and click Next, and we're going to move to the next screen. This is where your settings are. Now, this is important. So when you do this import, you may want to go and refer to these events that are coming into Calendar, and you're going to want to know who owns those events. So in this case, you want to choose an event owner. So in this case, I'm just going to select Threefold Solutions, and I'm going to then continue by saying unpublished. I do not want this to be published. I want to be able to review this and kind of verify the information that's come in first before I make this visible on Church Center or public. So in this case, I'm going to leave it unpublished. I'm going to choose the event owner, which will help me filter and find this later. And then we've got this option for tags right below that. Now, tags are pretty foundational in Planning Center. They're one of the things that we're going to look at in an upcoming video, so keep an eye out for that. But starting off with Calendar, one of the first things you want to do is build out your tags setup. And your tags are, again, one of those things that help you filter, segment, and find different events on your calendar and really keep it organized. But there's even more to it than that. You can actually turn some of these tags into Church Center filtering options for your congregation to use, and actually maybe separate some of those events that are on your calendar out by department or ministry type or demographic. Lots of different ways to do it. So right now, I'm going to add some tags that I suggest you use as best practice. When choosing these tags, I'm going to type in the individual tags that I'm looking for. Now you can see the tag groups listed here, but the tags that I've created specifically for this import look like this. So I've created one called Import Events, and that's really what we're doing here, Import Events. And I want to be able to go find these very easily. So I'm going to tag all of these imported events coming in, and that way I can go review them quickly and easily. Now I might even go a step further, and I might say that these are actually holidays that I'm importing. So I'm actually going to go look for the individual tag called holidays, and I'm going to add that as well. Now, if you were bringing in a calendar for something such as maybe a particular rental situation where maybe you have some events on a calendar where you're renting space, you might call that your rentals, and you might also refer to it as import events. So I would make more than one tag if it's necessary and it's helpful for you, but in this situation I'm going to use holidays and import events. The key here is I'm tagging whatever's coming in through this ICS file so I can easily find it later and then basically go back and review all that information. So once you have your tags assigned, and again, if they're individual, just start typing and you'll find them. But if it's in a tag group, then you can easily just browse one of the groups by clicking on them. I'm going to click Submit down in the lower right hand corner here, and you're going to see that this import is going to just start churning away, and it's going to start bringing in this information. Now I'm going to go ahead and pause and let this thing finish, and then we're going to jump right back in as soon as it's done. Okay, we're back. It's finally finished. The iCal file or ICS file has been imported, and now we can return to Calendar. I just want to show you a couple things that you can now utilize those tags for. So real quick here, let's return to the Calendar. Let's go over to filters. Now I've got a lot of tags set up here, but the one that we're actually interested in has to do with this import events tag that we created and holidays. So we're going to go ahead and use those two tags up at the top here to identify all of the things that we've imported. Now you will notice here that some of these might be redundant because I've done a test with this before, but for the most part, if we want to quickly find these, I'm only filtering those holidays on this calendar, and now you can see those. So if I click on one of these, I can see that I've got holidays and import events tags associated with them, and I've got some additional information that came along with the ICS file in the form of notes down at the bottom. So keep that in mind. There are things that you can include when you go to actually export or push your feed out of your existing calendar app and into Planning Center Calendar. It will acknowledge those things and it will display that for you. So that's how you actually start off and get some things onto Calendar or into the platform. Now, if you were to come back and want to manage this, you would just click on View Event, pick any old event. And now you remember we assign this to ourselves. Now you might want to go in here and go to the settings, and you might want to just review a few things. Number one, the event owner. Maybe this is actually an event that somebody else is going to assist you with, and this is where you would come and actually now change that over to somebody else's name here under the basic settings on the settings tab. And then you can also affect the visibility. You can add some additional information here in the description if you want to, and you can even add an image to this particular event if you'd like to do that. Now that's how we start off to start building our foundation when we're just, having a blank slate here. But I did mention that we will look at a way that you can export and then create that ICS file. So I'm going to actually use what we've just done here as an example. Now, Planning Center Calendar also has an export option, and that's found right here on this little icon. And in this particular instance, we're going to utilize this. Now, you'll notice when I click on that little square with the arrow in it, I've got an iCal share option. Now there's also a kiosk and an embed, and we'll talk about those in an upcoming video. But for right now, I'm going to utilize this iCal share as a way to show you how we can use a feed and push that into another app to export an ICS file. So in this case, I'll select iCal. And again, I am filtering my holidays, and you're actually getting to see that by the tags selected here. So now I have an opportunity to either include notes or not include notes, show rooms and resources. In this particular instance, I could include those things if I thought that was helpful. Now, I've got some feeds connected to my calendar, and you'll notice that seasonal classes, small groups, students, and unique groups sound like groups, and that's because they are. So in this case, I really just want the calendar feed, and that's what I'm going to deal with here. Now there's also a drop down here, public or full schedule. I'm going to go ahead and click full schedule just for the sake of showing you what this looks like. But right down at the bottom, iCal feed link is what we're after. Now again, this is that WebCal kind of scenario. I said iCal or WebCal early on in this video, and that's what this feed is referred to as. So in this case, we're looking at the WebCal URL or feed URL. And so I'm just going to highlight this, select all, and I'm going to copy this. So I'm on a Mac, Command C, copy. If you're on the PC, Control C, copy. So copy that information, and we're going to use that. Now I'm going to go ahead and close this, and we're going to move over into the calendar app on Planning Center. Now, I'm sorry, not on Planning Center. I'm going to go ahead and move over to the calendar app on my Mac. Now, that's one place that you can create ICS files. So that's what we're going to go ahead and use. So let's just go ahead and switch over here. Okay, we've got calendar open. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on the file menu for calendar. Now, again, this may be different for the calendar that you're using, but this is one way you can do it when you just have a feed. So in this case, I'm going to click on new calendar subscription, and that's how we actually import a feed into calendar. I'm going to paste that feed URL that I just copied, and I'm going to subscribe to it. So once I do that, you'll see here that we should have, after this is done processing, brought in the information that we're actually going to create the ICS file with. So in this case, I'm going to leave it referred to as Threefold Church, and I'm going to leave the subscribe to URL alone. Everything else, I'll just leave the way it is, but you can turn these on or off if you want to. Now, let's go ahead and click OK. And in this particular instance, I can find over in the sidebar that I've got this Threefold Church option. And this is it right here in the kind of pinkish color. And you'll notice I've already got some US holidays displayed here. I can turn those off by clicking on the little arrow next to it. And now I'm only viewing this. So I'm currently viewing only the Threefold Church feed right here that I've brought in. Now I'm going to return to the file menu. Up in the file menu here, I'm going to go down to export, and I'm going to choose export. When I do this, I'll be presented with another name here. So in this case, I'm going to call this the Threefold test, and it's going to save this file somewhere. So we're just going to go ahead and save it to our desktop, and we're going to export it. When we do that, we have just created an ICS file and saved it to our desktop. Now, when we go look at that, and we'll go ahead and just kind of browse for just a second. Now I'm going to show you in the Finder here that there is the file that we're looking for. It's called threefoldtest.ics, and that's what we were after in the first place. Now we've created the ICS file that we can utilize when it comes to actually importing in the first place. So that's the key to this. You have to have a WebCal feed in order to create an ICS file, or you have to have the ability to download the ICS file directly. But once you do that, you now have the opportunity to import that into Planning Center Calendar, and you'll have something that looks very similar to this if you use the tags appropriately and help you filter that. I hope that helps you when you're starting off in Calendar. Make sure to check out the other videos that we're making available so that you can get your foundation solid when it comes to Planning Center Calendar.